Here is the FireTV itself. Pretty stylish, thin box. Little known fact, this thing is like 80% heatsink, 10% actual chip. Turns out if you make it out of plastic, it keeps heat. Can't really see it very well, but this is the power cable, slot jack right here. HDMI, Toslink or optical audio, Ethernet to T100, and USB 2.0. More than adequate for sure. I've got a little setup over here with this monitor that I'll be showing you the actual physical process that you'll need to use the remote for, and then I'll also be recording my screen over here so that you can see all of the terminal commands we'll be executing. The remote is more than functional. It has all of the Android buttons, which is super convenient. Pause, and then of course pause, fast forward, etc. The center button here is clicky, and then you have left, right, up, and down. The wheel doesn't actually do anything. Once we get this thing all going, the microphone button will not activate anything. Maybe later on we'll get some kind of solution for that. Anyway, so let's go on ahead and get everything set up. Alright, so pop the batteries in your remote and plug in your FireTV. And things are going to start happening on the screen. So it's important that you get make sure you get the remote batteries plugged in. Well, I mean, it's not really important, but it's going to ask for it. That's the first thing it's going to start doing, is looking for it. So might as well do it ahead of time. Secondly, the FireTV will also be wanting to access your network. So you can either do that with a wired connection, which is definitely more stable, but really doesn't offer you that much in terms of speed benefits because it's T100, so it's limited to 100 megabits per second anyway. So here it is looking for my remote. Should find it in relatively short order. There we go. Press play to start. It's gonna try to connect to the network. The rest of it's pretty self-explanatory, so I'll let you do that part yourself. I'll be back with you as soon as we're ready to do some real tinkering. Okay, so while that dude is showing you how to use your remote, let's go on ahead and look through some of the things that we're going to be doing here. So here's the big one. We're going to be installing XBMC, which is awesome. If you haven't used XBMC before, I'd recommend you take a moment and go to their page. It's actually referred to as Kodi now, Kodi, though I don't think it's pronounced Kodi. It's just Kodi, for legal reasons. Unfortunately, I had to change it thanks to Microsoft. So yeah, we have that. This is the version that we're going to be installing now. They're probably going to be releasing XBMC, or I guess Kodi 14 relatively soon. So this might become out of date automatically, within the next couple of months anyway. But by all means, just swap it out for whatever the Android version of Kodi is at that point, and it should work for you just fine. This is as you can see, everything's an APK, which is just an Android application. That's what that really means. So this is for the SSH or SFTP daemon. Pretty unnecessary for the average user, but makes it really convenient if you move a lot of files around. tr.apk is towel root, which is essential, and we'll talk about that. BusyBox, tell you about that later, but basically this gets you all of the stuff that Linux would come with normally that Android doesn't come with. RBox FireTV mods. This makes it so that you can have you can have XBMC as the launcher instead of the FireTV default menu, which is really nice because you can do everything that the FireTV can do through XBMC to begin with, so you can just skip that stuff. Market Helper. This basically fools the Google Play Store into thinking that your FireTV is something that it isn't, which is awesome. It allows you to install apps that otherwise would not work because the developer seems to think they should only be for phones or for tablets or, not for set-top boxes, basically. HD Exposed, this is a framework that'll make everything else work. All of these, except for Chrome here, the Google stuff, this is all to make the Play Store work. They're all required. They all get installed by default on most Android devices, but in this case we have to do it the manual way. SuperSue and StickMount, both made by Chainfire. I don't know if that's a person or an organization or if it's just a thing that people like to put on there, but whoever they are, we're grateful for them because they are the coolest. SuperSue allows you to have admin or root privileges over your device. StickMount allows you to do external storage through the USB port. ES File Explorer isn't necessary, but it's, in my opinion, the best file manager in the Android marketplace, or in the Android environment. It's really nice, makes things really convenient. If you're not really comfortable using SSH or SFTP, this is a really much more drag and drop or copy and paste friendly way to do things. This is another part of the exposed installer, and advanced settings, which we'll use within the context of XBMC. So by now, your FireTV should have booted and gotten you to the typical start menu launcher. So let's go on ahead and get back to that. Okay, so here we are. This is your FireTV. It's actually not a bad interface as far as these things go. It's still in development, but it's pretty straightforward. FireTV is neat because it allows you to play games as well as other apps. Now you are more than welcome to continue to use this. If you take my recommendation that I'm going to make later and use XBMC as your launcher, you'll still be able to get here, and you'll still be able to access all of Amazon's content. I personally think XBMC is a better interface, so I advocate that you switch to that. The first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to go to System, and then Developer Options, and we will turn on ADB debugging. So what this allows us to do is access the FireTV over the network or by USB if this was a phone. Okay, so for the next step, we're going to be using ADB. I want to thank the guys over at AFTV News because they, as well as everyone in the XDA developers and all of the other forums that have popped up about this, because they're the ones who helped me learn how to do this. So what we're going to do is start a terminal in the folder that if you're running Windows, you should be able to download what's called minimal ADB and fast boot. That's the one I would recommend. Just go on ahead and search for it. Maybe I'll leave it in the description later. And once you've got that installed, you just need to open a terminal or open a sorry, my cat just attacked me. Open a command prompt in whatever folder you have that saved in. In OS X, you don't really need to do anything fancy. Just start a terminal in the same folder as all of your files are for convenience. So as you can see, I have started a terminal here in my FireTV folder that I'm keeping all my files in. So ADB is cool, pretty straightforward. It's kind of like Linux commands on easy mode. Everything's really straightforward. To do most things, all you have to do is just say ADB, whatever the command is, push or install or what have you. So to connect, it's not a bad idea to always start with ADB kill-server. So that's kill with a dash between kill-server. That makes sure that you aren't connected to any other devices. And then ADB start server. Ta-da! Now running on port 5037, which is exactly where it should be. And then you'll want to do ADB connect 192.168.1. whatever. So for most users, your IP address is going to start with those three sets of numbers. In order to find your IP address, all you have to do is go into the system settings right where we were before and look at go under about and then network. In my case, the IP address is 192.168.1.112. I think that the FireTV likes to default to 114, so if you're lazy and you want to take a chance, it's not going to do anything to try to connect to 114. I already have a FireTV running in my house, so it's not doesn't want to go there. So we'll connect here, and look, it says we're connected on port 5555, 555, many fives. So we can go on back. Now, if you want to install something, all you have to do is type ADB install and then the file name of whatever program you want to install. So to make things straightforward, we're going to go on ahead and install TR. Just copy and paste that. Boom, pushes it over and installs it automatically. And then we're going to install SuperSU. Where are you at? There we go. Now we're going to install SuperSU. There's also an app called SuperUser that works just as well. Some people might recommend it. I prefer. Oops. Pardon me, it's late. I prefer SuperSU myself, but they both do the same thing. Alright, so it's installed. Easy peasy. Now I'm going to go on ahead and bump over to the video of the FireTV for the next step. Okay, so we're back. Remember what I said about the settings? If you want to go to the applications, you just go pop over right here, hit towel root, launch the application. Now this is about as straightforward as it gets. Make it rain. Alright, we're rooted. Didn't even have to reboot. How convenient is that? If you're feeling generous, or if you use this enough that you think you should throw them a donation, please head over to towelroot.com and make it happen. They're some awesome guys. They came up with this really fast. It was within a couple of months, and it really makes a world of difference for people like me who aren't necessarily tech wizards, so that we can do fun stuff with Fire TVs and other devices too. So now that we've got that running, pop into SuperSU and launch the application. The binary, it's probably going to tell you the SU binary needs to be updated. Go on ahead and continue. You'll want to use normal, because we're not using a custom recovery right now. It's not going to really mess with anything. All right, installation was a success. Once again, you're welcome to follow these guys. I'm already with them, so not going to do that this time. So here we are in SuperSU. Now it's not going to, all you've done is really installed it. So your next step is going to be to request admin or root access. So we'll pop over to the other screen for that. Okay, here we are. So in order to request root access, all you have to do is type adb shell and then su. And boom, there it is. Okay, so it's kind of goofy, it doesn't really display, but just choose the one on the right, hit grant, and there we go. We've been granted super user permissions in the shell. So what that means is that we can now basically control the Fire TV from the terminal on your computer, which is pretty sick. Next step is to go on ahead and start installing. I've already started installing a few. The one that's really important right now is to install I'm actually forgetting it. I'm sorry, my cat's being irritating again. Okay, BusyBox. BusyBox is the one that you want. So go on ahead and just do adb install sterickson.busybox.apk. What? Oh, there we go. Make sure you write the commands correctly. As you can see, I'm kind of ditzy still. There we go. Once that's installed, you'll be able to you'll be able to open up BusyBox on the other screen. Okay, so go back to your applications. BusyBox free is the one that you want. Hi, Julius. He sends his regards. Go on ahead and launch application. You're going to get a super user request. Hit grant. Great. So BusyBox, here we are. You can just hit the back button to clear out of that. It's going to gather some information for a little while, but you can go on ahead and start the install before it's even ready. It just takes a little bit longer to do it after you hit the install button. Great. So we've got a successful installation. It's going to prompt you if they ever update it, which is really cool. You can't really read it on the screen there, but that's basically what that message is saying. We'll hit install one more time just to make sure that we got it. Okay, cool. So you can use the mouse. I'm going to select this to auto update. You can use the mouse to do all of this if you want, but the remote is perfectly BusyBox friendly. So. Okay, so now that we have root access, that's awesome. But if Amazon decides to update things, that could break our root access, and we don't want that to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to shoot over a command that will basically disable the updater. So if you remember before, we went adb shell to access the shell. Now we're just going to type su. That means that we want super user access, right? And the command is pm disable com.amazon.dcp. Boom. Package com.amazon.dcp is new state, disabled. Exactly what we want. So basically, Fire TV's firmware isn't going to update anymore, which is a problem if you want their updates, right? But it's not a problem if you're using XBMC as your front end anyway. So now that we've got that far, we don't have to worry about it unrooting itself, which could very well happen if rooting these devices becomes more popular. Okay, so go on ahead and type exit to get out of the shell. sometimes more than once. You can see in my history here, I exit a couple of times. You can also sometimes use Control C. That's the kill command basically. So just make sure that you're out of the shell, and you'll know that you're out of it because it'll just say, you know, the name of your computer connected to FireTV and then your username. Whereas if you're in shell, it'll say shell at Android, which is not what you want. So we're going to install XBMC, and then I'm going to show you how you can manipulate it to make it work really well. So the command, if you remember, is just adb install and then the name of the packet, or the name of the APK. So this is going to take a while. If you look at the size of the APK here, let's go on ahead and get info. Something I'm never going to get used to. Grew up on Windows. It's a pretty big file. It's 59 megs, and so if you're pushing over the wireless network like I am, that's going to take a sec. And then it's also a very large program to install. So don't be surprised if it takes a few minutes. Maybe go get yourself a donut, I guess, if you have them. I don't drink coffee, so I'm trying to come up with something that's not coffee. Go get yourself something to eat while it's pushing over. It's going to give you a little notification that it's finished, and then it'll say that it's successfully installed. So yeah, seriously, just go take a walk or something. Because it's always taken a few minutes every time I've done this. And it's going to be the same way when you upgrade your version of XBMC. It's going to take just as long to push over the network and just as long to install it. Speaking of which, upgrading is really simple. I would recommend you back up your files. There are a couple of solutions for that. It's not, the upgrade process has been pretty seamless in my experience, so it's not like super duper important. But I would feel really bad if I told you that you didn't need to bother backing up your files and then you lost everything. Okay, see, there we go. This is indicated that it has been pushed over the network, and now it is installing on the Fire TV. There we go, success. Boom. So that was like, what, 2 minutes? Yeah, definitely donut worthy. So yeah, when you're upgrading XBMC, all you have to do is grab the new version of XBMC that you want. In this next case, it'll be XBMC 14.0 probably. And you just do exactly the same command, adb install xbmc dash, whatever the new version number is, and it'll overwrite it. There are really clear instructions on this on the XBMC wiki, which I highly recommend anyone go to. Here, I'll show you what it looks like. I was just looking at this. wiki.xbmc.org. It's got everything that I'm doing here just written down. I'm making this video for more visual learners. But yeah, it's fantastic. I should probably throw that in the description as well. Anyway, so we've pushed it over, so I'm going to go on and switch cameras. Okay, so here we are, back in the applications. All of the applications that you install go right here, SuperSU, Talroot, and now XBMC. Look at that. Boom, let's open her up. This is a pretty big application. First run's going to take a few seconds. And here we go. We've started. So there we go. Look at that. The people at XBMC were gracious enough to include keyboard stroke. Your remote key presses are sent as keyboard strokes by default in Android now, which is awesome because it means you don't have to even plug in a keyboard to get things configured. So this is the default skin, which is nice, but I prefer a different one. Because in Android, this skin allows you to pin things to the dashboard, basically. Go ahead and skip through that. Amber, here we are. So go on ahead and download Amber, hit install. This is going to take a sec. The downloading thing there, I don't know. Sometimes it works really well. Sometimes it's completely inaccurate and gets hung at 90% for a long time, like it's doing right now, actually. So just be patient. There we go. And then switch to the skin. Now you can go back. You want to say yes, keep the skin. Now you can go back to, you can see everything's very different. You can go back to the home screen and it's got a little bit of a different interface. But the really cool thing about this is that you can go to home menu and you can add stuff or remove stuff from this one. You can do the same thing in the other one, but you can't pin applications to the home menu. The tricky thing about the skin is that it crashes whenever you try to open the whenever you go into the applications folder. If you go into programs, Android apps, oh, it's not crashing. Okay, well, it's working now, so that's cool. We're going to go on ahead and assign and make the KFTV launcher a favorite, and then maybe they fixed it. I don't know, new version or something. It's always crashed for me before, so I'm glad that that's not a problem anymore. So we've just made the KFTV launcher a favorite, which in this skin, just means it'll show up here. But it also means that you can go into the home menu and click on one of these empty ones, and all of the favorite Android applications are going to show up right here. So you can just click on KFTV launcher, keep that name, and now it will also be on the home menu, which is pretty neat. So when you click on that, it takes you right back. So if you're a big Amazon, content consumer, and you still want to have XBMC, you can make it really easy to get back. And then you just, as for right now, we haven't configured the remote the way that we want to, but so we can just go back to XBMC the long way. But I will show you in just a second how to change it so the remote's home button actually takes you, instead of taking you here, it'll take you back to XBMC. Okay, so this next step, we're going to make it so that you can use the home button to get back to XBMC. If you're interested in following along with the written instructions, it is section 4.4 in the wiki. Basically all we're doing is, we've already rooted, right? So all we need to do now is sideload exposed, which is this guy right here, HD exposed. This was actually developed for the Kindle Fire, but it works just as well here. ADB install HD exposed, boom, okay. And ADB install RBox FireTV mods, which is the other one. Boom. Okay. So just like it says here, and this is nice because it's got all of the links right here. XBMC is already installed, and we haven't installed any launchers, so don't worry about that. I forgot to download is appropriately called XBMC launcher. Got it right here. Now this is a great time to teach another lesson about ADB. We're gonna have to actually reconnect here because I restarted. So when you are installing an app, or when we're pushing over anything or doing any commands in ADB where the file name has a space, you need to make sure you put it in quotes. So in this case it has the 1 because apparently I'd already downloaded it and just forgotten to put it in this folder. So just go on ahead and push, now. And another good one to know is Control-C. That kills any command that you were doing. Let's go on ahead and see what's going on here. Like I said before, foolproof way is just do ADB kill server, ADB start server. Once the daemon is started, ADB connect, whatever the address of your device is. Okay, so now we're connected. You can also use the arrow keys to go back and forth through everything. Go on ahead and install that. Boom, installed. Okay. All right, so here we are. So just pop into the applications menu and open the exposed installer, launch application. So what we want to do is hop into the framework. Don't show that again. Basically, this is a warning saying if you break your device, you don't know how to fix it, it's your problem, not ours. But don't worry, there's nothing you can do here other than soft brick it, and that's very fixable. So just go on ahead and hit install and update. Go on ahead and grant it access. And it's going to ask you if you want to reboot now, which you do. But you'll see everything is perfect and seamless here. It's just going to go straight from the FireTV logo to XBMC. Boom! How do you like that? Isn't that great? And then opens up to your application. And the cool thing is you can go into the KFTV launcher and you can just hit the home button and we're right back. So now this is basically a full-blown launcher for you. And this skin is customizable, so it really can be a complete replacement. Now I'm going to go on ahead and show you some other useful apps. These aren't necessary by any means, but they're convenient and I like them. Alright, so we're going to grab some other cool apps. Number one is Market Helper. This app is necessary if you want to do anything that involves, basically if you want to use any app that doesn't come out of the box made for a Fire TV or another set-top box, which is pretty much all of them. Man, this again. See, this is what happens when you're too lazy to type kill server. So what Market Helper does, it's pretty straightforward, really. It just impersonates another device. So you can make it look like a Nexus 7, for example. I was using a baby monitor app. The developer, for some reason, thought that it wasn't tablet friendly, only phone friendly. So I installed this on my rooted Nexus 10. You know, worked like a charm. Market Helper is really cool. We're also going to install ES File Explorer. I've actually already installed that, but you should go on ahead and push it over because it's super useful. It's got a lot of neat features. Some of the apps that you install aren't actually listed in the app menu. Some of the launchers aren't specifically, so if you want to change launchers and you need to delete one, you'll probably need ES File Explorer's root explorer, and there's instructions for that in the XBMC wiki with the FireTV. The last ones that we're going to push over relate to getting your Google account to work on the FireTV. Oh, see, this is the error that it gives me if I forget to put in quotes. ADB install quote unquote. A Google Account Manager does exactly what it sounds like. Google Play Services, another counterpart to that. And Google Play Services Framework. Now make sure you install all of these at once. They kind of all depend on each other, and I can't remember which order to go in. So if I were you, I'd just do all three and don't start any one of them until you've got all three of them, you know, on the actual device. Here we go. As you can see, they're kind of big, which is great. And then after you've got Account Manager, Play Services, and Services Framework, you can install the Play Store. Now, the Play Store is cool. If you're unfamiliar with Android, you can install files through a web client. So like you can be on your computer and you can say, oh, I want to install this application to my phone. And you don't actually have to use your phone to install it, which is really nice. And in the context of the Fire TV, the Play Store, you know, it works. Like you can navigate it and stuff, but it's kind of difficult to use. So it's really convenient to just be able to go to your computer and say, okay, I want to install this on my Fire TV. I want to install this on my Fire TV, and you know, whatever. And you have access to the entire library once you start using Market Helper. Now we'll go on ahead and push Chrome over for good measure as well, just because we're doing things. Chrome works pretty well. It's obviously designed for mobile, so it takes up kind of a lot of space in the header, like the navigation window takes up like the top quarter of the TV. But if you want to show someone that funny GIF and it's hosted somewhere, you know, you can use Chrome to direct over to it. Obviously, you need a mouse and a keyboard. You don't really need a keyboard, but it's much better if you have a keyboard. But you do need a mouse to access all of the functions. Yeah, so I'm going to go on ahead and we'll let that install, and then I'm going to show you what to do on the Fire TV itself. Okay, so we're back in XBMC. We can go to the favorites, or we can just go to the KFTV launcher button here, and go back to our applications. So what you're going to want to do is, now that we've installed all of these things, the Google Play Services and the framework and the store, you just want to open up the store and launch the application. It's going to ask you to add a Google account. Now this is going to take a second, but actually adding your email is really easy. You don't need to put @gmail.com or anything like that. You can just put whatever it is. I'm going to go ahead and pause this though, because you know I don't really want my email on the entire internets. Okay, so if you have two-step authentication enabled on your account, you may have to disable it in order to get it to work, in order to sign in. I didn't have that problem before, but this time when I tried to sign in, it didn't want to accept my password. Maybe I needed to use an app-specific password or whatever. I don't know. But It was just easier. I disabled it for like 2 minutes, and then went on ahead and re-enabled it right after I added it. So it's going to take you through a couple of things. Just accept the terms and conditions, whatever you need to do. You are welcome to browse apps using the remote or a mouse. The Google Cast ones probably will work the best. They there's quite a few things available that are optimized for devices like this. However, it's been my experience that it's easier to just use the web client to go on ahead and install whatever you want to use. So once you have the Play Store installed, you can access the device and set it up however you want to. Now, in order to do that for some apps, you'll need to use the Market Helper application. I'm not going to update it this time. It's pretty straightforward. Basically, all you need to do is choose what kind of device you want to use. HTC One X Plus is a great option. You don't need to choose an operator, or anything like that. And then you just hit activate, and super user will ask for your authentication, but all it's really going. So now your phone, as far as the Google Play Store is concerned, is an HTC One X Plus. This will reset back to the normal appearance on reboot. Sometimes it takes a few minutes for it to process. So if you're going to the online to the Play Store, on your computer or whatever, and you're going to push and install, you might have to wait a minute before it really recognizes it as the right phone. And sometimes it still appears as an AFTV. Sometimes it appears as the One X or the Nexus 7 or whatever you've chosen. But one way or the other, it will now accept, whatever. It'll basically consider it a phone, so you can install whatever you need to on there. Yeah, you are pretty much set on the applications front. If you can dream it, you can do it. That's the cool thing. Once you've got all of this done, you have this great framework to do whatever you want to do with. So the next thing I want to show you, I'm going to jump into a new chapter here. Just a second. Okay, so I just pushed over Mupen 64 Plus and installed it. Now I happen to have the APK, which is convenient for me, but you can use the Google Play Store to install it from the web if you want to now, which is probably easier for most people than going and finding the APK and then sideloading it. Now, in order to use it, though, you need some games. So, quick disclaimer: it's illegal to play any games using an emulator that you don't have the rights to play. So, if you don't have a physical copy of it, just bear in mind it's illegal to play it using an emulator. Now, I happen to have a copy of Super Smash Bros. Sitting in a bag somewhere, and I want to play it on my FireTV because it's an awesome game. So the command is pretty straightforward. We're not installing anything, we're just pushing over a file that the emulator can use. So instead it's adb push, and then you want the name of the file. Remember, if it's got spaces, use quotes, and then the location. So I'm just going to dump everything right now into SD card/download, and it's going to give me a similar type of deal to when we were installing things, but instead of giving me a readout on how long it takes to install, it's just going to tell me how long it takes to push it over. And these can be pretty big, so it's going to take a few seconds to do, especially if the especially if your network is poor. So there we go, pushed over. Okay, here we are in screensaver land. So we just installed Mupen 64, which is great. It's a cool app. It actually does a very good job. The first run always takes a little while, during which I will show you this. Oh, let me see if I can get within range of the camera here. This is an Xbox 360 adapter for PC. This is actually a cheap Chinese knockoff one. I think I got it for $13 on Amazon. Now you can either use a USB hub or you can pop out the mouse. It doesn't really matter in this case. And then plug it in, and it will give you the ability to use an Xbox 360 controller, no questions asked, with your FireTV. It's actually really cool how well it works. Once this is done loading, I will show you. what I'm talking about. Here we are. So I can start my Xbox controller. I forgot about this. The only real bug is that every time you connect, it automatically takes you to the game section. Um, which is a little bit irritating, but it's not that big of a deal. Not a deal breaker for me anyway. Let's hop back into Moopin here. See if I didn't break anything. There we go. We're halfway done. Everything works exactly as you'd expect. Oh, the other thing is that the green light will just keep on blinking, which is kind of a hassle, but not really terrible considering it's a free controller. If you already had the Xbox controllers and everything. So I've played quite a few games successfully on this. I've enjoyed. There we go. We'll go on ahead and pick the game. I've enjoyed. Super Smash Brothers, Super Mario, quite a few. You just hit play, restart, and it'll launch the emulator. You will need to fiddle with the configuration a little bit. This is an Android game, so by default it's going to have the Android controls on the screen. You don't really want that, but you can do everything that you remember from when you were a kid, except in better resolution, which is pretty neat. So yeah, I won't show you how to fiddle with everything. I mean, it's pretty well documented. You can just it's really actually quite self-explanatory. Turning off the on-screen controls and everything else that you need to do. There's a lot of documentation on how you can remap an Xbox controller to work. You can even buy one of those Nintendo 64 controllers that work with USB. Those are supposed to be pretty cool. Point being, you've got your magic, right? So, yoink, pull on his nose. The one thing, you will have to remap the start button, and I don't want to waste your time showing you how to do it. But the start button on the Xbox controller maps as the settings button, so that actually gets you out of the game and everything. So yeah, obviously everything's going to require a little bit of configuration, but once you've got it going, everything works really well. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to make all of this work in XBMC for you. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to go on ahead and hit the home button, take me back to XBMC. We can go into add-ons, programs, Android apps, and if you just hit the menu button, you can choose to add something as a favorite. So I want to add ES File Explorer and Chrome, Google Play Store, Moopin. Let's see. We don't really need SuperSU. Stick mount, I didn't really show you, but it's great. It's super self-explanatory. If you want to use USB storage, like a flash drive, all you have to do is download stick mount, run it. It's got like one button. I think it's got more than one button, but it's got like 4 or 5 options, and it's really easy to do. So once you've got it on there, you just plug in your USB storage, hit mount USB storage, and that's it. It'll just work. XBMC has some cool features that let you save data to that and everything. If people request, I'll make a video detailing how to use stick mount more clearly, but once you've gotten this far, you should be able to figure it out. So now that we've added all of these programs as favorites, we can not only access them up here, but we can go into the settings. Once again, this is Amber, the Amber layout. We can go up in here and throw one of them into this empty space here. So if I want to have N64 on my home screen, I can. Bingo, right? Now some other stuff you can do. You can push over images, which is pretty cool, and you can make them the background. So I'm going to use the same push command that I did before. I'm just going to navigate over to that folder of images that I've put together. ADB push, I'm not going to show you this on the screen because you already know how to do it. SD card / download images. Oops, I got that in the wrong way. ADB push images to SD card / download. Okay, so I'm pushing all these images over. So now I can go into the settings and I can say backgrounds. And for the Mupen 64 Plus, I can choose an image as the background. Just go into external file system, download, and I've got all these cool images, right? So I can make Mario Kart the background. So now instead of just having it be boring like I have for the KFTV launcher right now, it's actually Mario Kart in the background, right? Pretty cool. Once again, ADB push, the name of the thing that you're pushing. In this case, I pushed a whole file of images over, so you can just collect the ones that you want to use as your backgrounds. You can also rearrange the layout so that it's vertical. I prefer it this way. I think it looks classier, but I'm not really a design guy or anything, so you don't have have to take my word for that. Netflix and Hulu, you can install directly through. Come on now. You can install directly through the KFTV launcher. You don't have to do anything fancy for that. Just hit it, hit download. The other apps, it's my advice. It's probably easier to just do it through Amazon, but I mean you can also do it through the Play Store. Let's see if we've got Hulu kicking around in here somewhere. Maybe. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You know how to do it. Same deal as before. You just go into your add-ons, programs, Android apps, Netflix, add to favorites, and then you can just come back into the settings, home menu, choose Netflix, and then you can go into the backgrounds and choose your special Netflix background if you've got one. There you are. So none of these images that I'm using here, I mean, it's all totally personal. I don't mean to steal from anyone. This one belongs to the Associated Press, I think. So I don't want to get sued over this. It's just for my home. So, but yeah, you've got Netflix and the N64 and any other apps that you want to stick on the main menu, you can. So that's why I like Amber, at least for this application of it. It works really well for me. I think there was one other thing I wanted to show you. Yes, there is an app on the Android market called Reflector that you can go on ahead and install. And I'm going to stop this video and I will install it and then I'll show you how it works. Okay, so I had a little trouble installing Reflector. I don't know why it happened on this round, but in the end I ended up installing. I had it installed on another one of my rooted devices, so I just grabbed my tablet, used ES File Explorer to send the file directly to ES File Explorer on the FireTV. I pushed over the settings.apk, which allows me to access the settings, Android settings, general settings, and then allowed me to install apps from unknown sources. And then I installed Reflector directly. So it worked out pretty well, actually. If anyone wants, instructions on any of that, let me know. We'll name this one. This is going to be for the conference room or for the dev room, so we'll call it dev just for now. That's always changeable later. Don't need to set a password. And we'll get started. So the cool thing about Reflector is that it basically allows you to do AirPlay over your network to the FireTV. Let's see if we've got everything set up properly. I'm going to plug in my mouse here. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Good. Reflector, Amazon, FTV. Let's see if my Mac will see it. Maybe not. My experience with AirPlay is that it's a little bit finicky when you're... There we go. An actual device. See? There we are. Look at that. Boom. Pretty cool, huh? We can even do a little reflector inception here. Woo. Okay, I'm being enough of a nerd. So yeah, AirPlay works great with Reflector. I'm super thrilled about it. I'm gonna go on ahead and turn that off. But long story short, it's you've got $100 Fire TV that does everything that an Apple TV does, plus it lets you play video games and run XBMC. It's really quite fantastic. So I thought I should show you the actual XBMC functions that we have here. You can get your actual movies in here, all of those wonderful movies that you've ripped, um, and watch them. Like, it downloads all of the cover art for you automatically, makes a great system for the kids. I'd highly recommend taking advantage of this, because that's what XBMC is all about. If you want to watch, you just hit the button and boom, there's your movie. It's like magic. I'm always impressed. Always, always, always impressed with XBMC every time I use it. So if you have any questions, feel free to message me on YouTube, or any other way you can get a hold of me. I'm more than happy to help. If you have requests for a walkthrough, tutorial, or explanation that you'd like me to do, I'm more than happy to do that as well. Anyway, thanks for watching.